Welcome to Northwest Arkansas Investing Podcast, your go-to source for real estate investing in Northwest Arkansas.
Whether you're a seasoned investor just starting out, we bring you expert insights, market trends, and practical strategies to help you build wealth through real estate.
From buying and selling to property management and long-term investment planning, we cover it all so you can make smart, informed decisions in this fast-growing market. Let's dive in.
Welcome to Northwest Arkansas Investing Podcast. We have a wonderful guest with us this week, Tom Allen. Tom, thank you so much for being here. We know your time's valuable, and we thank you for coming on the show with us. We have a nice little investing podcast started, and we're 50 plus episodes in now, and so we'd love to have guests like yourself that are like I guess you're not native to here, but you've been here for a really long time, since '94, correct?
It's my home now. Yeah.
It's your home now. Right, yeah. Woo pig.
Yeah, it's a good place to start.
It's a good place to start. So give us what I like to start with a lot of times is like, give us a quick 30,000 foot perspective on one, yourself, and then like let's just start with how you got to this area. What did that look like for you? And then we'll dive a little bit further into like about yourself and what you do.
Well, born in Oklahoma, but moved to Arkansas early.
Okay.
So I'm an Arkansan and grew up in Russellville.
Okay.
And my parents moved to Little Rock when I was in college, went to U of A at Fayetteville. So fell in love with Northwest Arkansas while I was in college there. And one day hoped to be back in Northwest Arkansas. And there was nothing here really to, Fayetteville was it. And Fayetteville was nothing what it resembles today really either. But I was in Little Rock and married with my wife, no kids. And really what brought me up here was an opportunity to get into the Backyard Burgers franchise business.
I read a little bit about that.
And so
We eat together all the time.
Did you? It was a great,
Great place.
Yeah, great products. Yeah. I'd much rather eat the product and serve it someone to serve it than to me be the guy that's cooking the burger and serving it out the window. But, when I was in Little Rock, though, people kept saying you need to go to Northwest Arkansas. It's just going to really flourish. And that was those talks began in '92, and really nothing had really happened just yet.
Wow.
So the territory I got was in Benton County. And so the first store was in Rogers, second was in Bentonville, opened up with great success, but still not much here. My wife is from Memphis.
Okay.
And so she's used to a city, and she's used to shopping and all that.
Yeah.
I moved her to Little Rock, and she didn't like that, but Little Rock was okay. And then I said, we're moving to Rogers. And she said, can we go to Fayetteville? And I said, no, we're going to do business in Rogers. So we're going to live in Rogers.
Yeah.
We didn't even have a Wendy's back then.
Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord.
But I knew that because I had talked to some people, some prominent business people in the area, some names you'd recognize, and they had said, it's coming. And Benton County, by the way, the whole area is going to flourish, including obviously Washington County, but Benton County, this person was telling me, was really going to explode.
Yeah.
He knew something was going on.
It's great insight.
That was 94. That was 94?
94.
Wow.
Opened up the restaurant business, did well for a while, but it wore me out. A lot of people told me you don't want to do that. And so, yeah, sure I do.
Yeah.
And I learned, there was a college degree in itself, running a business and through a franchise and managing people and equipment and food and everything else. And but one thing led to another, and we shut those down and went to work for Walmart in real estate.
Yeah.
That's where my real estate career started there.
How do you feel? I mean, what did you take from managing that franchise and going into Walmart? I guess did you start a real estate division at Walmart? Is that what you did?
Oh, I didn't start it. No,
okay.
That was already there in humming along, doing obviously fantastic things, but had a connection and a friend there, several friends in that department, and I'd always had a liking to real estate.
Okay.
And learned there were some openings there, and Paul Carter was instrumental, and Jeff Gustafson, if anybody knows him, he was leaving, and I actually took his place. And,
okay.
And Walmart taught me really everything I know about real estate.
Wow.
That's where I learned. So I started out selling outlots in front of supercenters and Sam's Clubs and neighborhood markets, and then went to the new store site selection for those same things in different states and territories, and finished my career there doing the dark stores.
Okay.
Selling those, leasing those, subleasing, and in early lease terminations.
Yeah.
For the dark stores. So got to do all of that, and I got to work with some really large REITs and landlords in East Coast, West Coast, Chicago, and really learned a lot.
So that you'd say that very, very well. How old were you when you started that? that Walmart venture?
Walmart. I'd have been 36,
And so that
35.
just thinking on that probably very much prepared you for what you have been doing and are doing now, correct? It just laid the foundation for that.
Yeah. Well, that taught me. Now you have to relearn real estate when you're in Walmart, a big machine like that. They do it their way.
Yeah.
And then there's the rest of the world that does it their way.
Yeah. That's exactly.
And I also learned that when you have Walmart behind your name and you're calling different people, they return your phone calls pretty quickly.
That's the truth.
And when I didn't have Walmart behind my name, I didn't get those return calls quite as quickly.
I was like, it's pretty frustrating. You're like, come on, let's respond.
Yeah.
So you were with Walmart for a period, and then what was your transition like after that? What was the next step for you?
Well, I was being recruited, and so it's kind of delves into some of the questions you've asked me before. But I was traveling quite a bit out to see the territory at Walmart. I had my 2 children, and my wife and I did, and I wasn't seeing them as much as I'd like. They were growing up in elementary school at Shiloh here, and the travel schedule, sometimes I would have to miss whatever events, sporting events or plays or whatever it might be. And the opportunity came along to work for a local developer with what at that time was the Pinnacle Group.
Okay. Yep.
And the main partners at that time, there were some others involved, but it was obviously the Hunt family and Tim Graham and then Bill Schweihart.
Okay.
And I was actually closer to Bill at the time. And Bill was recruiting me to come over, but he was worried about stealing from Walmart and all that. So I had a brief transition with another local company here. And then when Bill found out that I had left Walmart, he made an offer for me to come on board and help them go to the next level. They didn't have anybody that really knew much about the leasing aspect of the business. And they were just getting started with what we call the Pinnacle Centers over there, where the World Trade Center and stuff.
Yeah. I didn't know that your son went to Shiloh. I went to Shiloh too.
Oh, you did?
I felt like I had recognized him from somewhere. How old is he?
He's 30.
So was he like
33.
Was he like in the
What year are we in? 20?
25?
25, 30.
He's 30.
So was he like in the Kyle Frazier, Sam Harville?
He was on the team. He was a sophomore when they were seniors.
Okay, yes, I remember. His face looked so familiar because I was a freshman, I think, when Kyle and them were like seniors.
Yeah.
And I was like looking up to that class that won like 3 state championships, and everyone hated Shiloh Christian football during that time period. And I thought your son was very familiar. I knew him from somewhere. Let's transition into, we'll dive back into some of that, but kind of a fun question was, if Pinnacle Hills was a celebrity, what celebrity do you think Pinnacle Hills would be?
That's a tough question for me. There's so many. We talked many times internally with the Hunt family and those involved about this would be a great movie. It really would be, with the characters that started this, the ones I mentioned, but particularly Mr. Hunt, J.B. Hunt.
Yeah.
He's a celebrity in himself.
Yeah.
And, he never saw a deal he didn't like, and nothing was ever too big for him. And I would just have to say John Wayne.
John Wayne. Gosh.
I love that.
I love that. Yeah, that's
A shooter.
it's really interesting. And you had the perspective, in 96 I was just born, so I didn't get to see the transformation of this area, but you've been able to see it to where I guess it was just a main vein interstate that went through here to like everything that's come along now. A good question I think would be, how rare is it that this, where we are right now, all this stuff has actually happened, came to fruition, all the steps that took place for it to even be a thing? Like, how rare do you think that is? Do you think?
There are some other markets in the country that have some similar type stories, like Huntsville, Alabama is a small version of this from the aerospace industry.
Yep.
Heavily lean towards the engineering and aerospace. So it's a nice area like this.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we patterned the Top Golf in Huntsville, this one here after the one in Huntsville.
Really?
Same size market and things like that.
That's super cool.
But this is pretty unique because you have to have a catalyst that drives it. I've been to Omaha, Nebraska. Omaha has got, obviously, one blank on the billionaire Buffett and his companies and the insurance companies that are there and stuff. But this is so unique because it has grown so fast, and Walmart obviously is the catalyst. I mean, the J.B. Hunt transport is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And Tyson is phenomenal, but many other companies that have been here that aren't, George's, people like that don't talk about
Simmons.
Naturally, Simmons.
Yeah.
University of Arkansas is here, but Walmart is so big.
Oh my gosh.
It's just, it's amazing what it does, and it's going to continue to grow. But so that's unique, and then we have that. And then, when the word came out that if you really want to service your product and you want to be here, if you want to have a product on the shelf, better have an office here.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, I always talk about that when you have outside investors looking in. That kind of was a huge pivotal moment for the Walmart to say you have to sell. If you're going to sell into Walmart, you're going to have an office here. So you have those other companies, Procter and Gamble, headquartered in Cincinnati is an example I always use. But you mentioned you have these under the radar kind of companies, George's, Simmons, well, not even under the radar to us, but to people in Dallas. Dallas is looking at the Waltons, the Tysons, and the Fortune 500. But you have a lot of these companies, and I think what's interesting and what you've seen a lot is how much they invest back into the area. Like they're putting roots back into the area. That's a common theme in the Omaha, the Huntsville. The businesses that are successful have started. They invest a lot in real estate. A lot of them, and into their town. So their flight risk of move, they're not only saying, we're not moving, we're reinvesting back into the areas.
That's a big key. I'm glad you brought that up, because all of the families, and even the families that are not commonly known as that are obviously well entrenched, that they all give back to the community. And then communities that have seen better days than what they are today, one of the common denominators is the founding families have either disappeared or stopped being engaged.
Yeah.
And we're so blessed that the Waltons and the Hunts and the Tysons and so many others continue to reinvest in the area, giving millions of dollars to various, not just charities, but to infrastructure and to things like that. And that's so unique.
Yeah.
That's so unique.
It's
and the Allens and the Wagers and the
don't not forget about the Stanley.
You go. I was gonna say I'd love to go back to your story again. So you got out of the backyard burgers and the restaurant business, and you kind of sounds like you started to partner with what was the Pinnacle Group, right? And what kind of transpired? I guess what was the time frame there? When did you kind of get into that venture next? I guess you went to Walmart, and then kind of when did you leave Walmart? What kind of time frame was that?
So I was at Walmart about 8 years, roughly speaking, and then then transitioned over to the Pinnacle Group and started that. And we had the Pinnacle Group had about 300,000 square feet total space.
Yeah.
And I guess the big thing that happened with the Pinnacle Group and with the Hunts involved was that the Promenade Mall came about through General Growth, and the Hunt family is 50% owner of that.
Okay.
And the managing partner was General Growth, who is now Brookfield.
Yeah.
And so they're the experts. They make the daily decisions on running that and do a fantastic job.
Yeah.
So that was a big part of it too. But I guess, one thing that we have done is with the Pinnacle Group, which is now Hunt Ventures, Schweihart left on his own and did his own thing. And then Tim Graham retired from the business. And so it's really Mrs. Hunt now. And is that we continue to have such strong relationships with our tenants. We, for example, Johnson & Johnson, which is now goes by Kenvue, and Kellogg's, and companies like that have been their tenants since before I got there in 2006. And they one, it's location, but quality of construction, infrastructure, and how does this happen? Uniqueness of this too. The Hunt family invested tens of millions of dollars. I'm trying to get an exact figure, but I'm guessing it's around $70 million back in those early days in infrastructure, streets, and drainage and lights and everything to kickstart this area to get going. And so it takes that, because otherwise the developer has to do that.
Front them.
Right.
You're working with a lot of companies that have strong reputations in the area and nationally. How important do you think it was? We joked it in the beginning before we started recording about knowing who says that the cap rate is 5.5 and who says it's 4.75 and who says it's 6. But your reputation when you were working with these, well-established companies, I think, how much do you think they factored that? How much do you think they factored experience? you're starting to build relationships.
That's a good question.
You're starting to build relationships, obviously through Walmart, then into the Pinnacle Ventures, and then the Hunt Ventures, and then being able to represent, some larger institutions. What do you think is important to them in working with someone like you?
Well, in real estate, the thing that all of us in here would be successful, your reputation is number one.
Yeah.
That is golden.
Amen.
There are a lot of developers in this world, and some even in the state that, and we certainly won't name those folks, but they've got a lot of experience, but they have a trail of, can you really trust them? Are they going to deliver on what they say?
Right.
And so you've got to be able to deliver and have a track record, and you've got to be able to own up when you make a mistake. So relationships with these big companies is paramount, and you've got to be able to talk about what you've been able to do and perform and deliver. And then, of course, you look at it that, they say cap rates, they say location doesn't matter, but it really does. If you're looking at a Walgreens on Main and Main corner, you're really looking at the income stream from a Walgreens. I get it, but if I buy that Walgreens on that income stream, well, that Walgreens has got some trouble.
Yeah,
that's CVS. What's going to go in behind that if they do shut that down?
Right.
Well, it's on Main and Main. I'm not too worried about it.
Right.
It's going to work.
Do you think local clients understand that more? Because you represent both local roots in the ground and then people that are national. Do you think they have a better tune to those, street by street levels of the market?
Yeah, absolutely. We have kind of fought that battle in Northwest Arkansas for a long time because we've been years past trying to get people to pay attention to us in for example, Rogers, or you say Bentonville, and they're going, where's that? And then we go, oh, we're in the metro area of Northwest Arkansas. They're going, what? It's a directional market? What is that?
Yeah.
It's kind of like North whatever college that you're playing in basketball
right.
school. But so we used to have to get them here to show them, and when people came here, they could see it and they go, oh, I get it. So that's what was important, was the local people knew about the intersection of this or the growth pattern of the city, and also how well do the cities work with you in development. But now today, the secret's out.
Yeah.
We've got people from all over the world, not just the country, looking for opportunities here.
Yeah. I think one of the things I like that you slightly touched on was that these companies and individuals that you're representing know that you're not perfect and that you're going to do all your math, data, research beforehand. But maybe you've messed up before in the past, correct? And they know. And they know that.
As we do.
I think that's a really cool relationship to have, is them knowing like, hey, Tom is only human and you're, of course, great at what you do. Can you talk a little bit on how to approach when you do make a mistake and what that looks like? Is it like, hey guys, I just messed up? Is it that simple?
Well, at the end, yes, you want to boil it down to simplicity, and unfortunately, not everybody does. And we've all experienced that. And, and it's really hard for people that take a lot of pride in your work to build up a career, to be the expert at what you do. But it really sets yourself apart. And I tell you what, when I work with contractors and architects and engineers and anybody else, other fellow brokers, and it means a lot to me if they can just say, I made a mistake.
Of covering that.
Yeah, it's like in any job, any company where it is, well, how are we going to fix it? Come to me with, I made a mistake. This is what I'm doing to mitigate the damage. This is what I'm going to do to make it up to you. This is how we're going to fix it. And I'm just going to tell you, I should have paid more attention to that.
Yeah.
I really don't like it when people point to you and say, well, it was really your fault because I listened to you. I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
Listen to my advice, but you made the decision. So
It's just okay. Identifying it quickly, taking, here are the solutions, owning up to it quickly, and acting on it.
And I think when you're in a customer business too, the reality is the customer's always right too. And so finding a way to, even when they're not, finding a way to clearly communicate and kind of put it back on yourself to take ownership and accountability, I think
there's unknowns in any business. We're all here invested in real estate because we think we can control those, more than a stock or a business valuation, but there are certain elements of those. So I think super important trying to account for the unknowns even, but being able to adjust when they happen.
You have to mitigate. There are certain things like structural steel and concrete for buildings. You can't have any mistakes there. You gotta cover those. But there are other things when you negotiate a contract and you leave something out or you whatever. But you just have to be honest about it. People may get mad, but at the end of the day, the next day they wake up and go, you know what?
Yeah,
it's a mistake. He didn't mean to do it.
It's nice to hear you say that. I mean, I feel like on a lot smaller scale, Brandon and Brian on a bigger scale than us, but like sometimes I estimate here's what your potential rent's going to be, and I overshot it, and I go, hey guys, I'm sorry, but here's a backup plan. And it's cool to see you on a much bigger scale with ultimately bigger risks, saying like, hey, I go through that too. I think everybody does, and Brandon and Brian, I think you would all concur with that 100%. I want to dive into the Hunt Tower a little bit and how that came to be. I guess before the Hunt Tower came to be, real estate wasn't even a thought on my radar. I was playing college baseball and diving and getting dirty and stuff. So how did that come to be? What did that look like? The process of even putting that there, and what part did you play in that?
Yeah, it really kicked off the landscape of the area.
Yeah.
And tallest building I think was the Parkway Tower, where our offices were 6 stories. That's got the Mercy logo and NBC logo on it now.
Yeah.
And then the Embassy Suites, I think it's actually taller, but it sits down lower in the ground. And so those are the 2 buildings. And traditionally, all the office buildings in Northwest Arkansas built at that time were 2 or 3 stories and some single stories. But this real estate, the dirt itself, is becoming so precious and so few acreage, although many people thought we had all this land. But if you've been in development business, you realize pretty quickly after just a few buildings, you're going to use it all up.
Yeah.
So we determined pretty quickly.
Where's the camera? This photo was showed by, we had Paul Gatlin on last week, and he shared this photo.
Like we'll get them to flash it up on the before and after of over a period of time of what this Pinnacle area looked like.
So we convinced, of course, the one of the really fun things about working for Mrs. Hunt is she and her husband, her late husband, Mr. Hunt. And they were such a great team, and they loved each other tremendously, but were really good partners to each other. And that he was just out there, had the vision, nothing scared him. He was going to go do it, had a can-do attitude.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Hunt was happy with whatever. She was very content, and she was always following behind him, making sure that the bills got paid and
pieces were collected.
That's true.
And so Mr. Hunt had already had his tragic accident, had passed away. Mrs. Hunt had stepped in and did a fabulous job of starting to run Hunt Ventures. And so we decided, Tim Graham and John George and myself, working with Ken Sheeman and Mrs. Hunt, knew we had to build another building because we had General Mills at the time was needing space. General Mills was a key customer at JB Hunt Transport that Mrs. Hunt really valued and treasured, and so we really wanted to take care of General Mills and put them in this new building, Hunt Tower.
Yeah.
And so we brought this gentleman, Tom, it's not Herman, Tom something else, out of Minneapolis, down, and we stood at the 6th floor and looked over at the site and said, we're going to build a building right there, and when do you need it? And he said, I don't think you can get it done in time.
Really?
And that Mrs. Hunt had a little bit of her husband there, and she said, well, you just watch. And so we started without contracts, without anything. We got a hold of Crossland Construction and Core Architects and Craft and Toll and many others, put a big group together. And so we were going to make sure we delivered that. Well, guess what? We started construction on it, and then I got an email and phone call from Tom, and he just said, at that time, do you remember the carb craze was no carbs, and the cereal market just died.
Yep.
Atkins diet.
And he said, I got to back out. I said, we've already started your building. And you're not the only tenant.
Yeah.
And they were going to take about 40,000 feet. And the building's 230,000. So we already had it designed and going. I wasn't too concerned because I knew the demand was there in this market, and I knew we'd fill up with other, but it was still unnerving.
Gut punch.
And Mrs. Hunt immediately just said, let's go down to 7 stories. And I said, we've already got the building designed for 10, and we're starting to pour footings. She goes, well, can't we do 7? I said, well, we can, but it's pretty expensive. And so the funny story is that she was just so reserved and cautious and conservative. And she just doesn't throw money around like that.
Right.
And we convinced her to continue on with the 10-story, and we did a lot of other things in there that she was instrumental in. And George Anderson, her designer out of Little Rock, helped with the design of the building. It was the first one that had that material that actually changes colors when the sun hits it.
Yeah.
So we went forth and we built 10 stories, even though she was worried that, are we going to fill this up? And it turns out it filled up in record time.
Yeah.
Funny story about it was, she said, okay, Tom, if you don't fill that up, then you don't have a job. To this day, I'm here because we filled it up.
That's I was about to say that takes some guts for sure to stand up with that kind of confidence and say, no, I think we should do that. Is that did it feel like you were? I mean, you knew for sure that this was the right move, or?
Oh, I did. I knew it was there, but you still go to bed at night going, what have I done?
You're like,
or what have we done? It was a team. But yeah.
They told him he couldn't do it, so that was their fault for saying that.
Yeah.
I was going to make sure it got leased up because I needed the job.
What's even the timeline look like to be able to pour footings? Like, what's that before process? We don't have to super deep dive in, but like, what's the time frame for a commercial building like that, which is out of my sphere of expertise? Like, what is that? Is it like a year or 2 year type?
It could be 2 years depending on entitlements and where you get with the city on if there's rezone or if there's any kind of contamination with the soil, whatever that. But typically, I think that building was a fast track.
Yeah.
Crosland really worked with us. The city worked with us quite a bit. Gave us some, because we told them in advance what we're doing, and if you'll work with us on incrementally, approving this and doing that. And it was new for them. They had to go to Little Rock with their fire department inspection division to look at how do we look at these tall buildings.
Do you look at working with the city as more of like a team as opposed to I'm working against the city? Is it more of like, how can we help each other?
Absolutely. They at the time it was Womack as the mayor, and now it was Hines, and it's been the same with Hines. But they've been a partner. I've always said that they've been as much of a partner as our GC and as our architect and our engineers and everybody else we work with, because they've had the attitude this is good for the area, and they do it with all the developers here too. So one thing too that Mrs. Hunt and everybody, Hunt Ventures and Sage Partners, we realize that we get a lot of attention for what Mrs. Hunt has done here, but we really know that the Wizen Hunt family has done a lot. Larice and her family has done a lot. Chad has done a lot over here with this development, and many others. But yes, the city has been, when we speak to architects and developers from New York or Philadelphia or wherever it might be, and they ask about entitlement process and how long, and I tell them how long it takes, they just go, really?
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, we have a really good relationship with the city, and they're pro-business, and so it's been real refreshing.
That's incredible.
You guys do it. And that was an interesting, like, we went into development and like the different nuances there. You guys do existing deals as well. How do you look at development differently than, something that's already built? You have, I guess, with an extra layer of caution with, I guess, I'd leave it to you.
Hunt Ventures, I don't believe, has bought any existing structures. They've always developed from ground up. So that's their perspective. Now, I've been involved with some of my partners, some EJ Leffler, Marshall, Brian Shaw. Mrs. Hunt has been an investor with us in some of these, and some other people too, where we've bought existing buildings, and then we have to go in and improve them or modify them or do something.
Yeah.
And it is more challenging because, you don't have a relationship with the architect that designed it. Many times that architect has come and gone, and you don't know where they are.
Yeah.
And you don't have all the bones. And
you got to solve the mystery.
Yeah. And you got elevator shafts that aren't great. The box itself is not good. And you've got all kinds of things. So it's a different animal. And but that's kind of more the creative side too. How can I make this blah-looking buildings look nice?
I want to dive a little bit into the Hunt Tower and you personally, from the start to the finish of that thing. My wife and I were just talking last night on finding peace through the process. And a lot of times we say in life, like, okay, when we get here, so like when the Hunt Tower's finished, like then you'll have this euphoric like moment. How did you or did you find peace in the process of the Hunt Tower, and what did that look like? Was it an every night, like my brain's just rapid fire, or am I taking a deep breath and knowing that like it's going to be okay, we're going to get to the finish line? What did that look like for you?
Well, I never had any doubt we'd get to the finish line.
Okay.
We had such a great team of people, and you know, you're talking to me, and I was very much a part of that. But we had a great team at the time. John George was there, Tim Graham was there, Mrs. Hunt obviously was there, George Anderson, and then the teams from Crossland and Core Architects and Craft and Toll and many others.
So you're super confident.
So we had really good, competent people, and not only were they smart and good, but we were friends.
I love that about commercial real estate is you can like a lot more efficiently and better build teams around you in commercial. Like it's the business model is built to have good team, like extensions to other teams.
Yeah.
That's what I love about
So
it.
so you're pretty at peace through the process?
At peace, And, you know, still at the end of the day, they can finish the project, and then I've got to lease it up. That was mine.
So that's when the start line started for you was, hey, we're done. Time. Tom, it's time.
Yeah. Well, we had 1, 2. So I lost General Mills. They ended up coming back because we built another building for them called we call Founders Plaza. And that's a relationship we had. Tom called me back one day and said, "Now we're ready to go. Would you build us a building again?" He goes, "I know what I did to you." I said, "Oh, I get it. We're there for you." But you know, so I'm pre-leasing. Y'all understand pre-leasing?
Yes.
That. So I'm pre-leasing. We had the Harvest Group come in.
Yeah.
Quite a success story with that company, what they started and what they ended up doing. They're the largest tenant in the building now.
Wow.
We had at that time Advantage Sales and Marketing, who came in after General Mills and took 3 floors.
Wow.
70,000 square feet. And then we had ConAgra, Mattel, Koi Toy Company, and NCR. And so we pre-leased quite a bit. So Harvest Group moved in first, and then Advantage Sales and Marketing very shortly thereafter. That was roughly 100,000 square feet, almost half the building. So that really helped cash flow. I knew things were coming.
Yeah, you were good.
And so one thing too, we, you know, through the university, we keep up with what occupancy for the market is and absorption rates, and we keep building buildings, and we kind of set the pace, and we want to make sure that we keep that momentum going. We keep, and right now we're behind, everybody else is behind because we get calls. You know, we get calls, Colliers gets calls, everybody, you know, CB gets calls, you name them. Everybody's getting calls, and there's nowhere to put these tenants. And so the building we have under construction now, it's not going to be done until May of 2026.
Okay.
And so right now it's Chinese checkers, dominoes, however you want to do it. We're moving people around and downsizing, upsizing, and people are having to work from home more than they want to because there's nowhere else to go. So, but I was confident that it was going to get built correctly.
Right. It
was going to look good, and that it was going to be the apple of everything here.
Yeah.
Mr. Hunt called this the heart of the watermelon.
Yeah.
We knew that the attraction would be at that time, we were setting the market at $26-7 a foot in rent. We thought, can we get that? Well, today we're getting $40.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You know,
That's insane. You mentioned a building that you guys are building right now. Is that the Visionary?
Yes.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about that. What's that going to look like? What's the foundation behind that?
So the Visionary it's right across from Topgolf.
Yep.
And it's the big concrete structure that you can see, those 2 big cranes that are out there now. And I guess there's some few things that are different about it. So it's going to be on the opposite side of the plaza where we have the fountains outside of what is called Founders Plaza, where General Mills and Coca-Cola and those companies are now. And the same thing, that leased up pretty quickly, and that was in the mid-30s in rents. And I thought, we're never going to get that, and we got those. And then because of interest rates and construction costs, we just keep having to push the bar higher in order to get any kind of a decent return on your investment. Rents have got to follow. But all the tenants in the market and employees, everybody, they want amenities. It's not like when I went to work at Walmart where they watched every minute. You better be working.
No windows, nothing.
There was none of this ping pong, cornhole, and all that kind of stuff.
Go bike.
But today, our office buildings have got everything from golf simulators to fountains to outdoor kitchens to we've got a basketball court, gym. We've all got fitness centers. You name it. We've got all these amenities in them. So the Visionary is going to have on the top floor, part of the top floor is going to have what was going to be a pickleball court.
Okay.
but we decided that now that we're up there and the wind that comes through here,
Ooh, yeah.
may not be best thing in the world to have because it's a wiffle ball. The wind's just going to take it and blow it off the roof.
Yeah.
So we're going to have all kinds of things like shuffleboard
Yeah.
and some cornhole
Yep.
things and so nice sofa and seating area and some covered and some not. Outdoor grills, fire pits, just a place for people to gather and take a break from, and some ping pong tables if the wind's not blowing too
Yeah.
much.
Are they able to walk to Topgolf and Saltgrass and all the restaurants right there from the building, or you have to get in the car?
No, you certainly can walk. That's one thing about there. We're making it walkable. We're designing sidewalks with the city's partnership in private property. What we're doing to where you can walk to Topgolf, to the AMP concerts, to the restaurants nearby. We want people to gather in that fountain area we call the Plaza of Founders Plaza there.
Yeah.
We want people just to go there and sit and enjoy having a water feature behind you. That's one thing I picked up on when I was in Dallas at an ICSC conference, and we had some time to wait. And it was actually in the 40s, kind of cold for Dallas.
Yeah.
I went to a Starbucks into a development area where there's some office complexes. And it was crowded inside, so I took my coffee out and I sat on the edge of a water fountain.
Yeah.
And there was like 50 people out there.
Uh-huh.
And I got to thinking, people like to be around water.
Yeah.
They like to be around fountains. This is an attraction. It's kind of soothing. People just are attracted to it. And so I convinced Mrs. Hunt for us to do that for Founders Plaza, which the visionary will be backed up to. And it was extra money. There's a different kind of concept for Mrs. Hunt to think about, because it was a lot of money to do that, but it really pays off because the people enjoy it. It sets you apart from the others, and it just adds to the longevity of being able to keep and retain tenants there.
So smart. Super.
I think that's so cool. Dallas has a lot of cool, like I'm an investor in, I've invested in everything if I could in Northwest Arkansas, but I'm invested in Dallas, and Dallas has a lot of cool districts like Uptown and stuff. And I think in WA, it's very unique. It gets inspirations from, Dallas, from Denver, from these other cities, but it puts its own unique spin on it. But also I like what you talked about, that like being conscious of the walkability for like not just affecting the people that your tenants and residents, but the people around you that are going to be in the community. And I think that's really cool and unique about Northwest Arkansas, the city working with the developers who want the same vision, not just, ROI, which I'm not as blessed to be, I'm very focused on ROI at my stage in life, but some endowments and larger corporations are not, if this walkability, we have to pay a little extra, that goes a long way.
Yeah, thinking about the community is huge. For you, fast forwarding 10 years to the Pinnacle area, Rogers area, what does it look like? What does the skyline look like? Are we going taller? Are we staying the same height? Are we going wider? What does it look like to you if you had to make a prediction? I guess you probably have the best insight out of a lot of people here.
Well, I don't know about that, but it's I also like people will make some really nice compliments about Mrs. Hunt and myself and others involved with what we've done at Hunt Ventures and there. But they say, man, you just got the greatest master plan that you've put together here. And I said, yeah, all 20 of them have been great. They change all the time. Yeah, it's opportunistic and you make sure it fits right. But somebody will come along with this concept or that and think, well, we can change this, we can do that. And we work really well with our engineers and architects to do that. But at the end of the day, everything is strategically placed and located height-wise as well. Visionary is not going to be as tall.
Okay.
Because we wanted to preserve some view corridor for the Founders Plaza and Hunt Tower. We could just go out there and build really tall buildings just for the sake of building tall buildings. But Mrs. Hunt's not about doing that. She's whatever makes sense, whatever's going to make money, whatever is best for the whole area. But what's going to happen, I think we're going to see some taller buildings. Probably see you mentioned long-term, 10, 20 years, you'll probably see some teardowns of some buildings that probably have outlived their lifespan and it could be better utilized if they were scraped and start over. There'll probably be some of that. Probably less surface parking and more, even some current surface parking probably converted to some parking garages with maybe some combined office and even residential in them. And then on the top floors of these, you see in bigger markets like Dallas, what they call podiums. You'll see parks on the top of these structures where there's grass and trees and things like that.
Yeah.
I see that in 10 to 20 years here.
Do we have airspace restrictions here on how tall we can go in this area? Is there?
In the new UDC that was put in place, it was increased. And I forgot what the limit is, but I think you can build 20 to 25 stories or something like that.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
And they were good. They asked the question, what's the limit? And they asked me and several other developers in the room, what is it? And I said, I'm not prepared to say how tall it is, but I don't like to be limited. That doesn't mean we're going to build to the max, right? Or anybody else would too. But so the city was very good about that as far as loosening up height restrictions.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of cities' visions are to try to make the areas more walkable too. Do you think in the next 10 years or so, you mentioned a little bit of residential, but do you think that the Pinnacle area could continue to kind of be more densely populated? As I know office buildings are kind of the biggest thing, but people love to kind of be close to things. Do you see that part of the vision as well?
I do. I think you'll see more combination of office and residential together, and probably some retail on the bottom, just like you'd see in a city where there's whether it's a sandwich shop or whether it's a cleaners or a FedEx, Kinko's or something like that, UPS, and some boutique restaurants. You'll see that on the first floor. But we're definitely going to see more people living in the Pinnacle area in a multi-story building, I believe.
Yeah. That's a great question. Right?
It's ever changing. It's evolving. Like you said, like there's some space behind my where I live over in the manors behind Target. That changed quite a few times as far from mixed use development to a cancer center. I don't even know what they have right now. They have some preserved land in between there, like they have, like you can't no zone or something. But it's interesting to see that landscape, seeing what's going on in down. You're very concentrated. It seems like from the outside looking into Pinnacle. What are your thoughts on Pinnacle? Is almost like an uptown, like it kind of reminds me of uptown Dallas, and then downtown Rogers is almost like a downtown, like a little bit older. And we always talk about like what's a word.
I always try to think of a way to describe downtown Rogers, and I haven't quite gotten the right word. I think it's like I've come up with the word gritty before. It's like just like old. It's like just got a different vibe. It's two totally. You could be in downtown Rogers and come here and be like, oh yeah, is this the same state? Like, yeah. Because I have most of my investment properties towards downtown Rogers because I like the vibe. I think it's cool. Free concerts and blah, 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 and water attract. You got Lake Atalanta right there in Beaver Lake. I think it's super cool. Then you come over here. My wife loves being over here. I like more being over there. I think it provides a lot of unique back and forth. Say.
They complement each other. There's really no competition. And I've talked to several people invested into downtown Bentonville the same way. They don't look at it as competition. Those are different markets, for different flavors, different desires, whatever you want to do. But they're really different. There's only a few clients or prospects that I have really competed against for downtown Bentonville or downtown Rogers. Just a handful, just because they're different. One of the big corporations that we got that is a lot of us are big tenants that really you can't go to downtown Bentonville because of size. Yeah. With the exception of the Ledger. The Ledger was a big building, but it's full now.
Right.
And but one of the guys that came in from Atlanta stood in the Founders Plaza and looked at it and just said, for example, downtown Bentonville is hip, it's trendy, it's chic, it's all this bougie, it's all this good stuff, right? Yeah. And he said, but we're a big 25,000 square foot corporate America, and this is where corporate America needs to be right here. Yeah. And there's just that different vibe, and that's not a criticism in any other area, because you could criticize Pinnacle not being cool enough. Yeah. Because it's not trendy enough. Yeah. And that's an area where we're trying to really work on as well, because we don't have some of the things that downtown Bentonville or Rogers has. And a lot of people here want some of those things. So we're trying to attract those as well.
I think it's unique how, you guys have heard me say this before, how our area is set up as we have like different things among a main vein, as opposed to like a Dallas, a Houston. It's like, here's our main area, and then we spread out from there. And up here we have like Rogers, downtown Rogers, Bentonville, Fayetteville down here. And you have a bunch of different, just personally, my wife and I, and you guys can attest to the same, is like, We might get a wild hair and go up to downtown Bentonville and drive 45 minutes from Fayetteville to there. We might go to the Pinnacle. And I think it provides a unique feel. One thing I wanted to ask you selfishly is, do you think we will be getting a Delmonico's, a Three Forks, or a Capitol Grill in the near future? Because I am dying to have a really do you think that's a possibility for us in the future?
I do.
Good.
Yeah, we got a Ruth Chris.
I like Ruth Chris.
We got a Dennis.
No shade to Ruth Chris. I just, when my dad and I, we like going on trips and stuff, and when we go to Dallas, we'll love the Three Forks and the Delmonico's. I'm like, man, if NWA could get one of these.
Yeah.
Well, I know that one of our friendly neighborly developers had one of those restaurants you mentioned on their list, and they finally decided the market wasn't ready yet, but that was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But I think that we have taken leaps and bounds since that short time. You know, when Walmart made that decision to put their campus, and now that it's finished, it made a world of difference to everybody. And we're that snowball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it has become this now. It is really getting big when it turns over. And so we're getting so many people moving in here every day. And then if you look at the demographic mix of who the people coming in with the purchasing power they have, and the disposable income they have, and then just what they buy, the consumer aspect of what they're buying. The one that I really can't believe is not here yet is Apple.
Yeah.
I think they got it backwards. They wanted to go to Little Rock first. And I said, no, you need to come here first.
You need to come here first.
It's interesting you're still seeing a little bit of that, like some of those larger brands that are still choosing Little Rock over in Northwest Arkansas.
And no knock against Little Rock. I lived there. I love Little Rock. We've got an office there, and it's just everybody knows it's just not growing as fast as
right. Yep.
And but no, we're going to get some of those and some more, and we're going to get some more of the boutique. I mean, the locals like Carl Garrett and those guys that do great jobs at their restaurants. We've got one going in Pinnacle Heights that Matthew represented. That's a good restaurant.
I love the independent restaurant scene that pops up. Like you have independent steakhouses that pop, Gaskins, Doe's, you know, some of these others that are soon to be in Rogers. So.
Yeah. Yes, I see a steakhouse like what we talked about being here. Like that's mentally the only space I put it. Like I'm like, oh, if I'm going to go to Delmonico's, Capitol Grill, whatever, I'm going to go up to Pinnacle. Like that's the thought. So I think it fits well in this environment. Yeah,
Ruth Chris just rocks. They're going to their location. Then this new hotel that's being built is going to have Oakwood something at the top. It's got an outdoor patio bar.
Okay.
Got several locations across the country, and they're out of South Carolina, I believe. They've got locations in Nashville and places, but it's really going to be a nice day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
I think that's the cool part about what you do. Not only are you creating the vision for the Pinnacle area and things like that, but you also like you have the ability to kind of fill the right tenants, and that's the thing about it. I mean, to create a kind of the vibe that we talk about in downtown Rogers, or creating the vibe or the the local more boutique restaurants or things like that you want up here in Pinnacle. Like you all kind of have the ability to build the space and put the right people in here. Like, I mean, I just thinking about those kind of restaurants around here, like having Wright's Barbecue as that kind of as their flagship. I know Johnson.
Story.
Yeah, I know.
Story.
Yeah, would love to hear that too. But like, obviously Johnson is their flagship. But like, anybody that nobody's going to Johnson now over at Pinnacle because of it's such a great area. You can kind of eat inside, eat outside. But yeah, tell us the story.
Yeah, dive into that story
on Wright's.
Yeah.
Well, we so being an Arkansas boy, I grew up in Russellville, so I went to Hot Springs quite a bit.
Yeah.
And so the Hunt family and everybody else, and so we were very familiar with McLard's, and it just didn't deliver on what everybody thought of McLard's, and didn't work. And the owners are friends of mine, so I don't want to be disparaging. They understand, and so, but just about, well, I was talking to Jordan Wright, and trying to get him to go in that space.
Yeah.
He said, "Oh, I'm too busy. I'm trying to get this Bentonville location wrapped up." He goes, "So I'm really focused on that." And I said, "Okay." I said, "I'll go to my next one over here is let me McLard's." I literally had Mrs. Hunt sign the lease for McLard's, which we were excited about. And a week later, Jordan calls me and says, I changed my mind. I'd like to be in that location. Said, oh man, you're about a week too late. I told him, he goes, whatever. So time went on, and then the cards just couldn't deliver. And what was that? It's a hard job in restaurant. It's not just
not easy.
There's all kinds, as you guys know, there's such capital investment in people on a sales system. There's equipment and all kinds of things, and then it's labor intensive, and then all that, and it just wasn't gelling and working right, and it wasn't delivering on the product that they had hoped. And so I called the owners and I said, hey, if I can get you out of this lease, would you be interested in? They didn't want to at first, and I had to kind of talk them into it, and finally I got a hold of Jordan. I said, Jordan, I said, do you want to be here still? He goes, yeah. So I put the two together. They worked out a deal between the two of them, and to this day, I still don't know what they worked out. I don't want to know what they worked out. But they came to an agreement to buy that stuff, and we worked out a lease. And Jordan came in and utilized that patio, and I mean, from day one, it has just rocked.
It has. They deliver. Yeah.
And he does it everywhere he goes. The same thing with his Little Rock location he's doing, and Johnson is obviously.
I didn't know we had a Little Rock location.
Yeah, down there in River Park.
Okay.
Down there off of Rebsman, down that area. And been open about a year, I think, and it's doing really well.
That's amazing.
It's impressive for the restaurant because that was your venture into Northwest Arkansas was through the restaurant business.
Yeah.
It's high risk. I mean, I don't know I think the number gets thrown out like 50% success rate. I think after 5 years that goes down significantly, like your chance of going out of business.
That brings up a point though, that in real estate too, I in life, it's the same thing. If you go for it to where it's not a win-win for both parties, it's not going to end well. And in restaurants, I know too well that a certain percentage of your revenue can go to rent or to a mortgage payment for your real estate.
Yeah.
If it goes beyond that, you're struggling. Then you start cutting staff, then you manage your sales down, food costs go through the roof, people start quitting on you again, whatever reasons, your customers start leaving. So I'm very wary. I don't want to be able to go and just gouge and get somebody, particularly if it's not the national corporations, if it's the flagship, they get it.
Right.
But if you go some franchisee that's quit their job at the corporate America and they're going to go open up a Subway or whatever it is, they get so excited they'll pay anything.
Yeah.
And I think, no, I'm not. I don't think we're going to do this because you know what? We're going to be replacing you in about 2 years. So you've got to be realistic about the rent that restaurant or retailer can pay.
Yeah.
And I've seen people in over the years, and they say, yeah, I got $30 triple net for this mom and pop store. Great job. And I said, well, enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah.
Guess what? They have to close up because they're spending too much on real estate. So you want to find that sweet spot where it's profitable for the landlord, but it's also profitable for that tenant because it doesn't do you any good if they go out of business.
Yeah.
Such a good like value of having a good broker that can recognize that and that like screen like the tenants and doing that. Like you're almost evaluating the potential tenant just like they are you're running the numbers on
it's more work on you if you have to continue to find somebody else to go back behind that space. Then you got to spend more tenant improvement dollars to change it for whoever goes in, and it's not a good situation.
I think you can say the same for multifamily as well. Probably, I mean, the more times you have to turn over a unit, the more times you have to repaint and return. I mean, the expenses add up, and so
I can get higher rents if I stop background checking people and credit scores. Like I can get whatever I want.
Yeah, right.
They turn them over in 6 months. So I think that it rings true for a lot of things. Let's go for wrap up here. Let's go through a rapid fire, little quick question round. I'm assuming you do a lot of business meetings and stuff, and you're having always a drink or doing. I started for my business meetings going on walks with people because I got tired of. I did like 1 or 2 weeks where I had like 5 cocktails in a row, and I was like, I can't. I was like, Tori, Tori's my wife. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, we gotta start going on walks. So I started doing walk meetings with people. What's your favorite spot for a drink or favorite spot to have a business meeting here locally?
Well, you're talking to a First Baptist Church deacon. And so
favorite spot for a walk.
I don't drink
for a walk.
I think you used to ask favorite lunch spot.
Favorite lunch spot.
Favorite lunch or coffee spot.
Well, so I a lot of coffee meetings. And my favorite coffee spot is Confident Coffee over here in Pinnacle Heights.
Yeah.
I think that Amber does a great job. I love the flavor of the coffee. Heroes is right here next door. It's
Yeah.
a great place as well.
Really good
Heroes.
spot.
Those two are my two go-to for a lot of coffee meetings, and I love going there because it's a who's who. You see,
Yeah, I've seen Tom. I've seen Tom at Heroes a couple of times. You and Matthew together.
Sometimes I like don't go to one of them because I'm like, I'm gonna run. That's work done.
You're in your sweats.
yeah, it's so those are my coffee places, and I'll go to places for people that have drinks. I don't drink, but they'll have drinks, and then I got to plug Fox Trail for for Martin and his business over there. It's a great place over there, but
Super cool spot.
and then that place that I think I met you over there once at Alex Blass's building that's got the little bar there with the little outdoor patio. I forgot what it's called, but that's a good place to go there too, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we do that. I love to walk the area here, and then lunch spots. I remember the country club, and I take people to Pinnacle quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's just easy, and usually get a table and
Setting
do that.
good vibes in the country club for sure.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received in real estate?
Kind of what I said earlier, the most intimidating thing I ever had to do was to present to the Walmart Executive Committee. At the time, consisted of David Glass, Rob Walton, Tom Coughlin, Don Soderquist, Cole Peterson. You go down the list of all those big names.
Yeah.
And they're intimidating because they are highly intelligent, and they not only do they know operations of how to run a business and a retail, but they get real estate. So I remember my director and VP of real estate when I first went before them to present these multi-million-dollar opportunities was that they're going to ask you a question that you don't know. Don't you dare pretend that you know the answer.
That's so
Tell them you don't know the answer to that question, but you will find out by the end of the day, and you'll get back to them.
They can sniff bull from a mile away.
Oh yeah,
That's huge. And the second part to that you don't know, but you're going to get back with them with a timeline of when you can get back with them. That's huge.
People are more impressed if you don't pretend to know. I mean, we all know people who want to always try and impress, but it's natural to want to say, I don't want them thinking I don't know.
Yeah.
It's okay. We don't know everything.
They don't know everything.
Yeah. You want to get that out in front too. Like if you're beginning to start a partnership, you want to get that out in front too before you go down the road and actually, I needed to get assistance here.
Also like to, sorry to interrupt you, also like to give credit where credit is due, because I know that I am not the big guy. I can't do this without a whole bunch of people helping me, supporting me, guiding me, directing me, pouring resources into me. So that being humble is, and in real estate, there's a lot of people that are very prideful out there, and particularly in the developer world too. But I think it really shows a lot to a person that gives credit to others that certainly deserve it, that don't always get it.
Yeah.
We have a staff of accountants that never get any attention. We can't do what we do without them.
No, totally. I'm going to skip over one of them because it says, if you weren't in real estate, what would you be doing? I think you did it. You started the burger you did the burger stuff, and then you were working for Walmart there. I wanted to finish up with, what is a hidden gem in Northwest Arkansas that you don't think enough people know about?
Well, I mean, we have a lot of gyms, but they're getting a lot of attention. But what's hard is we're so close to the forest, you can't see the forest because of the trees.
Yeah.
I don't know how much everybody outside the area thinks about, but obviously crystal bridges, our streams, our lakes, hiking, the bike trails.
That's a great answer.
But the can-do spirit of people is different here. The people move into here, and they really when they get to know people and meet people, there's a different attitude amongst the people that work here and live here as far as being optimistic and working together.
Yeah.
I love all of my competitors in real estate in Northwest Arkansas because we're partners.
Yeah.
And we enjoy their successes. My friends at Colliers, I'm so happy that they do well.
Yeah.
Really love them because they're good people. And you go to a different market, like some cutthroat cities, you don't always see that. They really don't like each other sometimes.
No.
Speaking of liking each other, like another final question, we're getting ready to interview Matthew Allen, your son, and
I like him.
You are, and that's as a father of one, soon to be two. These guys are talking about being a father. Your son is successful in what he does. You're obviously very successful. Your daughter is successful in starting her family.
She's a real estate.
And she's in real estate too. And sometimes you see the father or the patriarch to the family becomes successful, but then the kids have problems. What kind of advice do you have for successful fathers and then keeping that?
Could have done a whole hour on that.
Keeping that going and keeping that legacy going. So I guess that's,
well, the thing is that they know me too well. So if I try to be the big shot, they're going to go, Dad, I've seen you at your work.
I've seen
you lose your cool. I've seen you do this. I've seen you struggle to put something together in a house and you get mad and throw it down the hallway or whatever it is. But no, I tell you, one of the best things I've ever had the opportunity is to be able to have my son work with me and me be able to be his mentor, so to speak. Also challenging because you've got a pretty good sized company, and I've got to make sure that people see that I'm not playing favoritisms for him. And he has done a great job of fitting in to where everybody likes him in the company, and it's not seen as Tom's son. He is his own man and has cut his teeth, and he's earned what he's gotten. But we make fun of ourselves and our family. We joke about ourselves. We laugh about ourselves. So we don't take each other too seriously because we put our faith in God, and we know that God is everything.
Amen.
And that he despises the prideful and loves the humble spirit.
Yeah.
So we're all that way. And I preach that even to this day to my two young kids, and my wife has been instrumental as well. She's the strong one. She's got the direct connection to God. Matthew, you might ask him about this, but Matthew, when he was in junior high and high school, my wife kept praying that whatever he was doing, he'd get caught at it. And finally, one day, I looked at her and said, "You've got to stop praying that." He keeps getting caught over.
God's listening.
But, you just got to don't take yourself too seriously and just love on your kids. Know that they're going to make mistakes. You don't always agree with what they do, whatever, but be humble and don't take yourself too seriously.
Yeah. We're going to dive further into that with Matt as well. Yeah. Tom, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate your time.
It's been great.
Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you on the next episode with Matt.
See ya.
If you enjoyed the show, make sure to give us a follow on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an update.
Don't forget to connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn for more real estate insights and behind-the-scenes content.
Have a question you want us to cover? Send it our way. And if you're interested in sponsoring the show, visit nwainvesting.com to get in touch. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.